Maya's hands trembled as she held her 3-month-old baby close to her chest. The tiny apartment bathroom was barely big enough for both of them, but she had no choice. Her baby, Emma, needed to stay with her while she worked. The smell of cleaning, chemicals mixed with the musty odor of the old building made her stomach turn. But she couldn't afford to be picky about jobs. At 17, Maya had learned that life doesn't care about your age when it throws challenges at you. 6 months ago, she was a regular high school student worried about math tests and weekend plans. Now she was a mother, a dropout, and desperately trying to survive in a world that seemed designed to knock her down at every turn. The toilet she was scrubbing belonged to Mrs. Henderson, an elderly woman who lived alone in the rundown apartment complex on the east side of town. Maya had found this cleaning job through a neighbor who knew someone who knew someone. It wasn't much, but it was honest work that paid enough to keep her and Emma fed for another week. Emma started to fuss, her tiny cries echoing off the bathroom tiles. Maya paused her scrubbing and gently bounced the baby, humming a soft tune her own mother used to sing to her. The irony wasn't lost on her that she was now the one doing the comforting, even though she often felt like she needed comforting herself. "Shh, sweetheart," Maya whispered, her voice barely audible over the dripping faucet. "Mama's almost done here, and then we can go home." Home was a generous word for the tiny studio apartment she rented week by week. It had a leaky roof, a heater that worked when it felt like it, and neighbors who played music too loud at all hours. But it was theirs, and Maya was determined to make it work. She had been cleaning Mrs. Henderson's bathroom for about 20 minutes when she heard voices outside the apartment. At first, she thought it might be neighbors talking in the hallway, but the voices seemed more official, more serious. Maya tried to focus on her work, but something about the tone made her nervous. Mrs. Henderson had been acting strange lately. Maya had noticed it during her previous visits. The old woman would peek out her windows constantly, jumping at every little sound. She had started asking Maya to come earlier in the morning before most people were awake. When Maya asked why, Mrs. Henderson would just mumble something about keeping safe and not wanting any trouble. The voices outside grew louder. Maya could make out what sounded like radio chatter, the kind police officers used. Her heart started beating faster. She had done nothing wrong, but experience had taught her that sometimes that didn't matter. Young mothers like her, especially those who looked like they were struggling, often got unwanted attention from authorities. Emma sensed her mother's tension and began crying louder. Maya tried to calm her while straining to hear what was happening outside. She could hear Mrs. Henderson's voice now, shaky and nervous, talking to someone at the front door. "I told you, officers, I don't know anything about that," Mrs. Henderson was saying. "I'm just an old lady trying to mind my own business." Maya's stomach dropped. Police were here, and she was trapped in the bathroom with her baby. She looked around the small space, wondering if there was any way out. The bathroom had a tiny window, but it was too small for even someone as petite as Maya to squeeze through. And besides, she would never leave without Emma. She heard footsteps entering the apartment, heavy boots on the creaky wooden floors that she had mopped just last week. There were at least 2 people, maybe more. Maya pressed herself against the bathroom wall, holding Emma tighter. "Ma'am, we're going to need to take a look around," a male voice said. It was calm but firm, the voice of someone used to being in charge. "We have reason to believe there might be evidence related to the case we're investigating." Maya's mind raced. What case? What evidence? Mrs. Henderson had always seemed like a harmless old lady who just wanted her bathroom cleaned and someone to talk to for a few minutes. Maya had never seen anything suspicious in the apartment during her weekly visits. Emma's crying had quieted to soft whimpering, but Maya knew it was only a matter of time before she needed to be fed. The baby's schedule was one of the few predictable things in Maya's chaotic life, and feeding time was approaching quickly. "There's someone in the bathroom," another voice said. This one was different, more observant. "I can hear movement." Maya's heart stopped. She had been trying so hard to keep quiet, but apparently, she hadn't been quiet enough. She looked down at Emma, whose big brown eyes were staring up at her with complete trust. This baby depended on her for everything, and Maya was terrified she was about to let her down. The footsteps moved closer to the bathroom door. Maya could see shadows moving under the crack at the bottom of the door. She took a deep breath and tried to think of what to say when they inevitably asked her to come out. She wasn't a criminal. She was just a teenager trying to take care of her baby the best way she knew how. But she also knew that sometimes the truth didn't matter as much as appearances, and she certainly looked like someone who might be in trouble. "Ma'am, we need whoever is in the bathroom to come out, please," the first voice called out. It was polite but not really a request. Maya closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her courage. She thought about Emma's future, about the life she wanted to give her daughter. She thought about her own mother, who had kicked her out when she found out about the pregnancy. She thought about Emma's father, who had disappeared the moment he heard the word baby. All she had was herself, this job, and the determination to prove that young mothers could make it on their own. She wasn't going to let fear stop her from protecting her daughter or from doing what was right. "I'm coming out," Maya called softly, her voice stronger than she felt. "I have a baby with me. Please don't be alarmed." She adjusted Emma in her arms, making sure the baby was secure, and reached for the door handle. Whatever was about to happen, she would face it head on. She had learned to be brave for Emma's sake, and today would be no different. Maya opened the bathroom door slowly, her heart pounding so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. The first thing she saw was a police officer in uniform, tall and broad-shouldered, with kind eyes that seemed surprised to see her. Behind him stood another officer, and beside them was a German shepherd that sat perfectly still, watching her with intelligent brown eyes. "Oh," the first officer said, clearly not expecting to find a teenage girl with a baby. "I'm Officer Rodriguez, and this is Officer Chen and Rex." He gestured to his partner and the dog. "We're sorry to disturb you, miss. We didn't realize anyone else was here." Maya stepped fully into Mrs. Henderson's living room, still holding Emma protectively. The apartment looked different with the police officers in it, smaller somehow, and more shabby than she usually noticed. Mrs. Henderson sat in her favorite armchair, wringing her hands and looking more frail than Maya had ever seen her. "I'm Maya," she said quietly. "I clean for Mrs. Henderson. I was just finishing up in the bathroom." Officer Chen, a woman with short black hair and a no-nonsense expression, looked Maya up and down with professional interest. "How long have you been working here?" "About 2 months," Maya replied, gently swaying back and forth to keep Emma calm. "I come every Tuesday morning to clean the bathroom and kitchen, sometimes dust the living room." Rex, the German shepherd, suddenly became more alert. His ears perked up and he started sniffing the air with more intensity. Officer Rodriguez noticed immediately and gave the dog more space to work. "What's Rex doing?" Maya asked, genuinely curious despite her nervousness. "He's a detection dog," Officer Rodriguez explained. "He's trained to find specific scents. We're investigating a case involving stolen goods that might have passed through this building." Mrs. Henderson made a small noise of distress. "I told you I don't know anything about stolen things. I barely leave my apartment except to get groceries." Maya looked between the officers and Mrs. Henderson, trying to understand what was happening. The old woman had always been nervous, but today she seemed terrified. Her hands shook more than usual and she kept glancing toward the kitchen. Rex was moving around the living room now, his nose working methodically. He sniffed around the couch, the coffee table, and the small bookshelf by the window. Maya watched, fascinated despite her anxiety. She had never seen a police dog work before. "Mrs. Henderson," Officer Chen said gently, "we're not here to cause trouble for you. We just need to understand if you've seen anything unusual in the building lately. Any new people coming and going, packages being delivered at odd hours, anything like that." The old woman shook her head rapidly. "No, nothing like that. It's always been a quiet building. Just regular people trying to get by." Maya found herself nodding in agreement. In the 2 months she had been coming here, she had only seen a few other residents. Most kept to themselves, and the building manager rarely showed up unless there was a major problem. Emma started to stir in Maya's arms, making the little sounds that meant she was getting hungry. Maya knew she had maybe 15 minutes before the baby would need to be fed, and she didn't have any bottles prepared. She usually fed Emma right after finishing her cleaning jobs, and they would head home where she could nurse in privacy. Rex had moved into the kitchen area, and his behavior changed dramatically. His tail went rigid and he sat down immediately, looking back at Officer Rodriguez with alert attention. "He's got something," Officer Rodriguez said to his partner. "Rex only sits like that when he's detected what we're looking for." Maya watched as the officers moved toward the kitchen. Mrs. Henderson's face went pale, and she gripped the arms of her chair so tightly her knuckles turned white. "Mrs. Henderson," Officer Chen said, her voice still gentle but more serious now, "is there something in your kitchen you need to tell us about?" The old woman's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't mean for any trouble. I was just trying to help." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. She had been in that kitchen dozens of times, washing dishes and wiping down counters. What could possibly be in there that would interest the police? Officer Rodriguez was examining the kitchen cabinets while Rex continued to sit in his alert position. "Rex is indicating the area around the sink," he told his partner. Maya's mind raced back to all the times she had cleaned that kitchen. The cabinets under the sink were always locked, which she had thought was strange but hadn't questioned. Mrs. Henderson had told her that she kept cleaning supplies there and didn't want Maya to worry about organizing that space. "Mrs. Henderson," Maya said softly, surprising herself by speaking up. "The cabinet under the sink, you always keep it locked?" The old woman looked at Maya with such sadness that it broke her heart. "I'm so sorry, dear. I never meant to involve you in this." Officer Chen approached the cabinet with a small tool from her belt. "We're going to need to look inside, ma'am. You can give us the key or we can open it ourselves." With shaking hands, Mrs. Henderson reached into her pocket and pulled out a small silver key. She held it out toward Officer Chen, tears now streaming down her face. "My grandson," she whispered. "He's been in trouble and he asked me to hold some things for him. He said it was just for a few days, that he needed somewhere safe to keep them." Maya felt her stomach drop. She had been cleaning around stolen goods for 2 months without knowing it. What if the police thought she was involved? What if they arrested her? What would happen to Emma? Officer Rodriguez took the key and slowly opened the cabinet. Inside, Maya could see several small boxes and what looked like electronic devices still in their packaging. Rex's tail wagged slightly, confirming that these were indeed what he had been trained to detect. "Mrs. Henderson," Officer Chen said kindly, "we understand you were trying to help family, but these items were reported stolen from an electronics store downtown 3 weeks ago." The old woman sobbed openly now. "Tommy said he was in trouble and needed help. He's my only family left. His parents died in a car accident 2 years ago, and I've been trying to look after him. But he's been running with the wrong crowd." Maya felt a wave of sympathy for Mrs. Henderson, mixed with her own fear. She understood family loyalty and the desperation to help someone you love, even when they make bad choices. Emma was starting to fuss more seriously now, and Maya knew she needed to address her baby's needs soon. But she also felt like she couldn't leave Mrs. Henderson alone in this situation. "Officers," Maya said carefully. "Mrs. Henderson has always been kind to me. She pays me fairly and treats me with respect. I really don't think she knew these things were stolen." Officer Rodriguez looked at Maya with renewed interest. "You've been coming here regularly for 2 months?" "Every Tuesday," Maya confirmed. "Always the same routine. Bathroom, kitchen, sometimes light dusting. I've never seen anything suspicious, and Mrs. Henderson has never acted like she was hiding anything until today." The officers exchanged glances. Rex had relaxed now that the items had been found, and he was sitting calmly beside his handler. "What we have here," Officer Chen said, "is an elderly woman who made a poor choice trying to help family, and a young mother who was just doing her job. Mrs. Henderson, you're going to need to come with us to answer some questions, but given your cooperation and the circumstances, we'll do our best to work with you." Maya felt a mixture of relief and sadness. Relief that she wouldn't be in trouble, but sadness for Mrs. Henderson, who was clearly a victim of her grandson's poor choices. Emma's cries became more urgent, and Maya knew she couldn't wait any longer. The baby was hungry, and all the stress in the room was making things worse. She looked around helplessly, unsure of what to do in this situation. "Excuse me," Maya said to Officer Rodriguez, her voice barely above a whisper. "My baby needs to eat. Is it okay if I step into the other room for a moment?" Officer Rodriguez looked at his partner, then back at Maya. His expression softened as he really looked at her for the first time. She was clearly very young, probably still a teenager, and she was handling this stressful situation with remarkable composure while caring for an infant. "Of course," he said gently. "Take all the time you need. We'll be here for a while anyway. processing the scene and taking Mrs. Henderson's statement. Maya nodded gratefully and moved toward the small bedroom off the living room. Mrs. Henderson called out softly, "Use the chair by the window, dear. It's the most comfortable." As Maya settled into the old rocking chair with Emma, she could hear the conversation continuing in the living room. Mrs. Henderson was telling the officers about her grandson Tommy, how he had been struggling since his parents died, how he had dropped out of school and started hanging around with older kids who seemed to always have money, but no visible jobs. "He showed up here 3 weeks ago," Mrs. Henderson was saying, her voice thick with tears. "He was scared, said some people were after him and he needed to lay low. He asked if he could store some things here, said they were electronics he was selling online to make money." Officer Chen's voice was patient but firm. "Did you suspect they might be stolen?" There was a long pause. "I was afraid to ask," Mrs. Henderson admitted. "I didn't want to know because then I would have had to tell him no and he's all the family I have left." Maya understood that feeling all too well. Family loyalty could make people do things they knew weren't right. Her own mother had chosen her new boyfriend over Maya when the pregnancy became inconvenient. Family relationships were complicated and sometimes love made people make poor choices. Emma latched on and began nursing contentedly. The familiar routine calmed Maya's nerves slightly. This was something she knew how to do, something she was good at. In a world that often felt chaotic and unpredictable, feeding her daughter was a constant that grounded her. From the living room, she heard Officer Rodriguez speaking into his radio, calling for backup to help process the evidence. Maya realized this was going to take much longer than she had expected. She had planned to finish here and head to her afternoon job at the grocery store, but that seemed unlikely now. She pulled out her phone and sent a text to her supervisor at the store, explaining that she was dealing with an emergency and might be late. She couldn't afford to lose that job too, but she also felt a responsibility to stay and support Mrs. Henderson if she could. Rex wandered into the bedroom, his professional demeanor relaxed now that his job was done. He approached Maya and Emma cautiously, his tail wagging gently. Maya had always been nervous around dogs, but there was something calming about Rex's presence. "Hey there, boy," she whispered, extending her free hand for him to sniff. Rex sniffed her hand politely, then sat down beside the rocking chair as if he was standing guard. Officer Rodriguez appeared in the doorway. "I hope you don't mind Rex visiting. He seems to have taken a liking to you and the baby." "I don't mind at all," Maya said. "He's beautiful."
"How long have you two been partners?"
"About 3 years now," Officer Rodriguez said, leaning against the doorframe. "He's been through situations like this before. Sometimes I think he can sense when people need a little extra comfort." Maya looked down at Rex, who was now lying down beside the chair, his head resting on his paws but his eyes alert and watching. There was something comforting about having him there, like having a protective presence that asked for nothing in return. "Officer Rodriguez," Maya said carefully, "what's going to happen to Mrs. Henderson?" He considered his answer thoughtfully. "That's partly up to the district attorney, but given her age, her cooperation, and the fact that she was clearly manipulated by her grandson, I suspect she'll face minimal charges. Probably probation and community service at most. And Tommy? We're still looking for him. The store owner wants to press charges, and there might be other thefts involved. This wasn't a one-time thing." Maya felt sad for Mrs. Henderson, but also angry at Tommy for putting his grandmother in this position. The old woman had been nothing but kind to Maya, always paying her promptly and sometimes offering her leftover soup or cookies to take home. She didn't deserve to be used by someone she loved. Emma finished nursing and immediately fell asleep in Maya's arms. The baby's ability to sleep through chaos had been a blessing over the past few months. Maya gently burped her and then just held her, drawing comfort from the warm weight of her daughter's body. "You're handling this very well," Officer Rodriguez observed. "How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?" 17, Maya replied, then quickly added, "But I'll be 18 next month." "And Emma?" 3 months old, Officer Rodriguez nodded thoughtfully. "Are you getting support? From family, from the baby's father?" Maya's laugh was bitter. "No family. Emma's dad took off when I told him I was pregnant. It's just the two of us." "That must be incredibly difficult. Some days are harder than others," Maya admitted, "but Emma's worth it. She deserves better than what I had growing up, and I'm going to make sure she gets it." From the living room, Maya could hear Mrs. Henderson giving more details about Tommy's recent visits. Apparently, he had been coming by more frequently over the past month, always nervous, always looking over his shoulder. He had asked her not to mention his visits to anyone, which she had thought was just because he was embarrassed about needing help. Officer Chen appeared in the doorway with a notepad. "Maya, I know this isn't your fault, but we do need to ask you a few questions for our report. Would you mind?" "Of course," Maya said, though her stomach tightened with anxiety again. "Have you ever seen Tommy here during your visits?" Maya thought carefully. "No, never. Mrs. Henderson mentioned having a grandson a few times, but I've never met him." "Have you noticed any changes in Mrs. Henderson's behavior recently?" "She's been more nervous the past few weeks," Maya said honestly. "She used to like to chat while I worked, but lately she's been quieter, more jumpy. She started asking me to come earlier in the morning, too." Officer Chen wrote notes as Maya spoke. "Anything else unusual? Changes in the apartment, new items, anything like that?" Maya shook her head. "Nothing I noticed. The locked cabinet under the sink was always locked, from my first day here. Mrs. Henderson said she kept cleaning supplies there and didn't want me to worry about that area. You never found that strange?" "A little maybe, but lots of people have their own systems for organizing things." "I figured she just wanted to maintain control over certain areas of her space." "I respected that." Officer Chen nodded approvingly. "That shows maturity and professionalism." Maya felt a small glow of pride at the compliment. She had been trying so hard to be good at this job, to prove that she could be reliable and trustworthy despite her age and circumstances. Rex lifted his head and looked toward the living room, his ears perking up. Maya heard new voices, probably the backup officers that had been called to help process the evidence. "We're going to need to finish up here soon," Officer Rodriguez said. "Maya, you're free to go whenever you're ready. We have your contact information if we need anything else." Maya nodded, but she hesitated. "Can I say goodbye to Mrs. Henderson before I leave?" Maya gathered her cleaning supplies and Emma's diaper bag, moving slowly back toward the living room. Mrs. Henderson looked so small and fragile sitting in her chair, surrounded by police officers and evidence bags. The apartment felt different now, no longer the peaceful place where Maya had found steady work and a kind employer. "Mrs. Henderson," Maya said softly, approaching the elderly woman's chair. "I wanted to say goodbye before I left." Mrs. Henderson looked up with red, swollen eyes. "Oh, Maya, dear. I'm so sorry you got caught up in all this. You're such a good girl and you work so hard. I never wanted any trouble to touch you." Maya felt tears prick her own eyes. "I know you didn't. You've always been nothing but kind to me. What will you do now?" Mrs. Henderson asked, worry evident in her voice. "About the job, I mean. I don't know when I'll be able to pay you again, and I know you need the money." Maya had been trying not to think about that. This job provided almost half of her weekly income. Without it, she would struggle even more to pay rent and buy food for herself and Emma. But looking at Mrs. Henderson's distressed face, she knew she couldn't add to the woman's guilt and worry. "Don't worry about that," Maya said firmly. "You focus on taking care of yourself and dealing with this situation. The job isn't important right now." Mrs. Henderson reached out and took Maya's free hand. Her skin was papery and warm, and Maya could feel her trembling. "You're going to be just fine, you know. You're stronger than you realize, and that little girl is lucky to have you as her mother." Those words hit Maya harder than she expected. She hadn't heard anything like that in months. Her own mother had told her she was ruining her life by keeping the baby. Emma's father had said she was trying to trap him. Her former friends had whispered that she would never amount to anything now. But Mrs. Henderson, who had known her for only 2 months, could see her strength. "Thank you," Maya whispered, squeezing the old woman's hand. "That means more to me than you know." Officer Rodriguez stepped closer. "Maya, before you go, I wanted to ask you something. Have you thought about what you want to do long term? I mean, beyond these cleaning jobs?" Maya looked at him in surprise. "I don't really have time to think long term. I'm just trying to get through each day." "I understand that," he said. "But you're clearly intelligent and responsible. Have you considered going back to school? Getting your GED?" "I've thought about it," Maya admitted. "But I don't have anyone to watch Emma, and I can't afford childcare. Besides, I need to work to pay rent and buy food." Officer Rodriguez nodded thoughtfully. "There are programs that might help. Community college has childcare assistance for young parents, and there are organizations that help teen mothers finish their education. Maya had heard about such programs but had never really believed they were accessible to someone like her. I wouldn't even know where to start. My wife works with a nonprofit that helps young mothers, Officer Rodriguez said, pulling out a business card. Would it be okay if I gave her your contact information? She could tell you about resources you might not know about. Maya stared at the card, hardly daring to hope. You would do that? For me, of course. You seem like someone who wants to build a good life for herself and her daughter. Everyone deserves a chance to do that. Officer Chen, who had been listening to the conversation, added, You handled yourself very professionally today. Most people would have panicked in this situation, but you stayed calm and took care of your baby while being helpful to us. That says a lot about your character. Maya felt a warmth spreading through her chest. These police officers, who had started as intimidating figures, were now treating her with respect and kindness. They saw potential in her that she sometimes struggled to see in herself. Rex wandered over and gently nuzzled Emma's foot where it peeked out from under her blanket. The baby stirred but didn't wake up. Maya marveled at how this police dog, trained to detect crimes, could be so gentle with a tiny baby. Rex likes kids, Officer Rodriguez explained. We do community outreach at schools sometimes, and he's always a hit with the students. He's been very comforting today, Maya said. I was terrified when you first arrived, but having him here made everything feel less scary. The backup officers had finished collecting the evidence from the kitchen. Maya watched as they carefully documented and bagged each item. She couldn't help but think about Tommy, Mrs. Henderson's grandson, who had put all of this in motion. His poor choices hadn't just affected him. They had hurt his grandmother and disrupted Maya's life too. What happens next? Maya asked, looking around the apartment that had become so familiar to her over the past 2 months. We'll finish up here and take Mrs. Henderson to the station to complete her statement, Officer Chen explained. The apartment will be sealed for now, but that's just a formality. She should be able to return home tonight or tomorrow at the latest. Maya looked at Mrs. Henderson, who was gathering her purse and a small overnight bag that one of the officers had helped her pack. The elderly woman moved slowly as if she had aged years in the past few hours. Mrs. Henderson, Maya said impulsively, would you like me to check on you in a few days, when things have settled down? The old woman's face lit up with the first smile Maya had seen from her all day. Would you really do that, even after all this trouble? Of course, Maya said. You've been good to me. I'm not going to abandon you now. Officer Rodriguez looked impressed. That's very kind of you, Maya. As they prepared to leave, Maya felt a strange mixture of emotions. The day had started as a routine cleaning job and had turned into something that might change her life. She had the business card in her pocket, a potential connection to resources that could help her build a better future for Emma. But she was also losing a job she desperately needed, and she was worried about Mrs. Henderson facing legal consequences for trying to help her troubled grandson. Life was complicated, Maya reflected. Good things and bad things could happen at the same time, sometimes even because of each other. Emma woke up as they were walking toward the door, her big brown eyes taking in all the unfamiliar faces. She wasn't frightened, just curious about all the activity around her. Maya adjusted the baby's blanket and whispered soft reassurances. You're going to be okay, little one, she murmured. We both are. Officer Rodriguez held the door open for Maya as she gathered her cleaning supplies and prepared to leave. Maya, he said quietly, I meant what I said about my wife contacting you. Don't give up on your dreams just because life got complicated early. I won't, Maya promised, and for the first time in months, she actually believed it might be possible. As she walked down the hallway of the apartment building, Maya could hear Mrs. Henderson's door being locked and sealed behind her. An era was ending, but maybe, just maybe, a new one was beginning. 3 days later, Maya was folding laundry in her small apartment when her phone rang. Emma was napping in her crib, which was really just a basket with soft blankets that Maya had arranged in the corner of the room. The apartment was quiet except for the sound of traffic outside and the occasional drip from the kitchen faucet that the landlord kept promising to fix. Maya looked at the phone number and didn't recognize it. She almost didn't answer, worried it might be a bill collector or someone else bringing bad news. But something made her pick up on the fourth ring. Hello, she said cautiously. Hi, is this Maya? This is Carmen Rodriguez. My husband Luis gave me your number. He's a police officer and he mentioned you might be interested in learning about some programs for young parents. Maya's heart skipped a beat. Officer Rodriguez had actually followed through on his promise. She sank into the rickety chair by her small table, hardly believing this was real. "Yes, that's me," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Thank you so much for calling." "Luis told me a little about your situation," Carmen said, her voice warm and encouraging. "I work with an organization called New Beginnings, and we specialize in helping young mothers get their education and build careers. Would you be interested in meeting to talk about what might be available to you?" Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "I would love that, but I have to be honest. I don't have much time between my jobs and I don't have anyone to watch my baby." "That's not a problem at all," Carmen assured her. "We can meet wherever is convenient for you, and babies are always welcome at our meetings. In fact, one of the first things we help with is childcare so you can focus on your goals." They arranged to meet the next day at a coffee shop near Maya's apartment. After hanging up, Maya sat in the quiet apartment feeling something she hadn't experienced in months. Hope. Real, tangible hope that maybe her life could be more than just surviving from week to week. The next morning, Maya arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early. Emma bundled in her carrier against the late autumn chill. She had put on her best clean shirt and spent extra time making sure her hair looked neat. First impressions mattered, and she wanted Carmen to see that she was serious about making changes. Carmen turned out to be a woman in her 30s with kind eyes and an easy smile. She waved Maya over to a corner table where she had already ordered 2 coffees and set out some papers. "You must be Maya," Carmen said, standing to greet her. "And this beautiful baby must be Emma." Maya felt herself relax immediately. Carmen's warmth was genuine, not the fake friendliness that Maya had encountered from some social workers in the past. "Thank you so much for meeting with me," Maya said, as she settled Emma's carrier on the chair beside her. "I have to admit I'm not really sure what to expect." "That's completely normal," Carmen said. "Why don't you start by telling me about your current situation? What are your biggest challenges right now?" Maya took a deep breath and began to share her story. She told Carmen about dropping out of school when the pregnancy became difficult, about her mother kicking her out, about the father of her baby disappearing. She described her current living situation, her cleaning jobs, her constant worry about money and Emma's future. Carmen listened without judgment, occasionally asking gentle questions or making notes. She didn't seem shocked by anything Maya told her, which was both comforting and sad. It meant Maya's struggles weren't unusual. "Okay," Carmen said when Maya finished. "Here's what I want you to know first. Everything you've accomplished so far is remarkable. You're 17 years old, you're raising a baby on your own, you're working multiple jobs, and you're keeping a roof over your heads. That takes incredible strength and maturity." Maya felt a lump form in her throat. She couldn't remember the last time someone had praised her efforts instead of focusing on her mistakes. "Now," Carmen continued, "let's talk about what's possible. Our program can help you get your GED while providing childcare for Emma. We have classes specifically designed for young parents, with flexible schedules that work around your need to earn money." "How much does it cost?" Maya asked, already worried about the answer. "The program is free," Carmen said. "It's funded by grants and donations specifically to help young mothers like you. Not only is it free, but we also provide small stipends to help with transportation and basic needs while you're in classes." Maya stared at her. "Free, really?" "Really, and that's just the beginning. Once you have your GED, we can help you apply for college, including community college programs that offer childcare. We have partnerships with local employers who specifically hire graduates from our program. We even have emergency assistance funds for things like car repairs or medical bills that might otherwise derail your progress." Emma started to fuss, and Maya automatically began the gentle swaying motion that usually calmed her. But her mind was reeling with the possibilities Carmen was describing. "Why?" Maya asked suddenly. "Why do all this for people like me?" Carmen smiled. "Because everyone deserves a chance to build the life they want. Because strong mothers raise strong children. And because society benefits when we help people reach their potential instead of writing them off." She pulled out a folder and opened it on the table. "I want to show you something. These are pictures and stories from some of our graduates." Maya looked at the photos Carmen spread out. Young women in graduation caps holding babies and toddlers. Women in nursing scrubs, business suits, teaching uniforms. Success stories of people who had started where Maya was now. "This is Jasmine," Carmen said, pointing to a photo of a young black woman in a nurse's uniform. "She came to us when she was 16 with twin babies. She got her GED through our program, went to nursing school, and now she's working in pediatric care at the Children's Hospital." "And this is Maria," Carmen continued, showing another photo. "Single mom of 3, started with us at 18. She's now a paralegal and just bought her first house." Maya studied the faces in the photos. They looked confident and happy, but she could also see something familiar in their eyes. The determination she recognized in herself, the fierce love for their children that drove them to keep fighting. "The classes meet 3 times a week," Carmen explained. "Tuesday and Thursday evenings and Saturday mornings. We provide dinner before the evening classes and breakfast before the Saturday class. Childcare is available during all class times." Maya's mind was already working through the logistics. She could keep her grocery store job, maybe find one more small cleaning job to replace the income from Mrs. Henderson's place. It would be tight, but it might actually work. "What's the catch?" Maya asked, because she had learned that things that sounded too good to be true usually were. Carmen laughed. "No catch. Just commitment. The program takes about 8 months to complete if you attend regularly. We ask that you sign a contract agreeing to attend at least 80% of the classes and to participate in the support group sessions." Support group sessions? Once a week, all the participants meet to talk about challenges, share resources, and support each other. It's one of the most important parts of the program. These women become your network, your friends, your encouragement when things get tough. Maya looked down at Emma, who had fallen back asleep in her carrier. Her daughter deserved a mother with a high school diploma at minimum. She deserved a mother who had options and opportunities. "When can I start?" Maya asked. Carmen grinned. "The next session begins in 2 weeks. I can get you registered today if you're ready." "I'm ready," Maya said without hesitation. As Carmen filled out paperwork, Maya felt a shift happening inside her. For the first time since Emma was born, she was making a decision that was about building something rather than just surviving. She was choosing to invest in their future rather than just getting through today. "Maya," Carmen said as they finished the registration process, "I want you to know that this won't be easy. Balancing work, classes, and a baby is challenging. There will be days when you want to quit, but you think I can do it. I know you can do it. Louise told me about how you handled yourself during that situation at Mrs. Henderson's apartment. You stayed calm under pressure, you took care of your baby, and you showed compassion for someone else even when you were scared. Those are exactly the qualities that make people successful in this program." 8 months later, Maya stood in front of her bathroom mirror, adjusting the cap and gown that felt surreal on her shoulders. Emma, now almost a year old, sat on the bathroom floor playing with a colorful toy, babbling happily to herself. The apartment was still small and the faucet still dripped, but everything felt different now. "What do you think, Emma?" Maya asked, turning to show her daughter the graduation outfit. "Does Mama look like someone who just earned her GED?" Emma clapped her hands and said, "Mama," which never failed to make Maya's heart swell with pride. Her daughter was walking now, taking tentative steps between furniture pieces and getting into everything. Maya had baby-proofed the apartment as much as she could afford, but mostly she just kept a constant eye on Emma's adventures. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Carmen. "Ready for the big day? See you at the ceremony." The graduation ceremony was being held at the community college, the same place where Maya would start classes in the fall. She had been accepted into the early childhood education program with a goal of becoming a teacher. The irony wasn't lost on her that she, a teenage mother, wanted to work with children, but her experience with Emma had shown her how much she enjoyed helping little ones learn and grow. As Maya gathered Emma's diaper bag and her own purse, she thought about how much had changed since that day in Mrs. Henderson's bathroom. She had kept her promise to check on the elderly woman, visiting her once a week until Mrs. Henderson felt comfortable again. The charges against her had been dropped to a minor offense with community service. Just as Officer Rodriguez had predicted, Tommy, Mrs. Henderson's grandson, had eventually been arrested for a string of thefts. Mrs. Henderson was heartbroken but also relieved to know where he was. Maya had been with her when she visited Tommy in jail, watching as the old woman tried to encourage her grandson to use his time behind bars to think about the future he wanted to build. "Mrs. Henderson taught me something important," Maya had told Carmen during one of their support group sessions. She showed me that loving someone doesn't mean enabling their bad choices. When Emma gets older, I want to love her enough to set boundaries and expectations. The other women in the program had become like family to Maya. There was Keisha, who was working toward her GED while raising twin toddlers. There was Sarah, whose baby was born with special needs and who was determined to become an advocate for children with disabilities. There was Amanda, who had aged out of foster care and was building the stable home she had never had as a child. They had supported each other through late nights of studying, sick babies, car troubles, and relationship drama. They had celebrated small victories like passing difficult tests and big victories like job promotions. They had shared resources, babysitting duties, and countless cups of coffee during study sessions. Maya's phone rang as she was buckling Emma into her car seat. "It was Officer Rodriguez, Maya. Carmen told me today's the big day." "Congratulations." "Thank you," Maya said, feeling emotional. "I can't believe it's really happening." "I can," Officer Rodriguez said firmly. "Luis and I knew you had it in you from that first day. Are you ready for college in the fall?" "Scared but excited," Maya admitted. "Emma will be in the college's childcare program while I'm in classes. I never imagined I'd be able to go to college." "Dreams have a funny way of coming true when you work for them," Officer Rodriguez said. "Rex and I will be cheering for you today, even if we can't be there in person," Maya smiled, remembering the gentle German shepherd who had provided such unexpected comfort during one of the most stressful days of her life. Officer Rodriguez had sent her photos over the months of Rex at various community events, and Maya always shared them with Emma, telling her about the nice police dog they had met. At the graduation ceremony, Maya saw familiar faces in the audience. Carmen was there, of course, beaming with pride as she watched her program participants receive their diplomas. Mrs. Henderson had come too, wearing her best dress and clutching a small bouquet of flowers for Maya. "I'm so proud of you, dear," Mrs. Henderson said when Maya found her after the ceremony. "Look how far you've come." Maya hugged the elderly woman carefully. Mrs. Henderson had become like a grandmother to Emma, and Maya often brought the baby to visit. The old woman had regained her confidence over the months, and she had even started volunteering at a local senior center. "I couldn't have done this without all the support I received," Maya said. "You believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself." As Maya posed for pictures with her classmates, Emma on her hip wearing a tiny cap that matched Maya's graduation cap, she reflected on the journey that had brought her here. It hadn't been easy. There had been nights when she fell asleep over her textbooks, mornings when she was so tired she could barely function, moments when she wondered if she was fooling herself about being able to build a better life. But there had also been breakthrough moments. The day she aced her math test after struggling with numbers for weeks. The night Emma took her first steps while Maya was studying, as if the baby was celebrating her mother's progress. The moment she received her acceptance letter to college and realized that dreams really could come true with enough determination and support. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. When she opened it, she saw a photo of a young man in an orange jumpsuit holding a GED certificate. The message read, "Tommy got his GED in prison. Grandma thought you'd want to know. Thanks for not giving up on our family." A friend, Maya showed the photo to Mrs. Henderson, who burst into tears of joy. Even Tommy was working toward a better future, inspired partly by watching Maya's transformation over the past months. As the ceremony concluded and families began to leave, Maya sat for a moment in the auditorium, Emma playing quietly in her lap. She thought about the teenage girl who had been cleaning that bathroom 8 months ago, terrified and believing she had no options. That girl had been stronger than she knew, but she had also been isolated and convinced that her circumstances defined her limits. Now Maya knew better. Circumstances were just starting points, not destinations. With support, determination, and willingness to work hard, anyone could change their trajectory. She was proof of that, and so were the other women who had graduated with her today. "We did it, Emma," Maya whispered to her daughter. "We really did it." Emma looked up at her mother with bright, trusting eyes and clapped her hands. "Mama," she said proudly, as if she understood the significance of the moment. Maya stood up, adjusting her graduation cap one more time. She had a college orientation to attend next week, a new job at a daycare center that would allow her to bring Emma to work, and a future that looked brighter than anything she had dared to imagine 8 months ago. As they walked out of the auditorium, and into the warm spring sunshine, Maya felt ready for whatever came next. She had learned that sometimes the most important moments in life happen when you least expect them. In bathrooms and apartments and police stations, with babies in your arms and fear in your heart. But she had also learned that those moments, no matter how frightening they seem at the time, can become the foundation for something beautiful. Emma gurgled happily as they walked to the car, and Maya couldn't help but smile. The future was waiting, and for the first time in her life she was excited to meet it.